Hi everyone, I'm Lauren. I'm part of a 1920s, 1930s costumers support group on Facebook, and whenever I post on there, I notice that I've been getting quite a lot of comments asking me how I do my finger waves. It is, I would say, a notoriously difficult hairstyle, and it is a lot of trying it out and seeing what works for you. So I will respond to these questions about how to do my hair, but recently I asked if people would like me to just do a video tutorial, just sort of going over how I do my hair on a day-to-day basis, and I got a lot of positive responses from that, so here's that video. So this is basically how I do my hair on a day-to-day basis. If there's any variations on this you'd like me to try, or anything else you'd like me to show you, I'd be happy to, so just let me know. Unfortunately, there's no quick way to achieve this hairstyle. This is an overnight process, so I will cut to me last night and we'll get started. So this is what my hair looks like normally. It's just sort of a basic 20s style bob, so it's quite short and is graduated at the back. Really, you can do this style with any hair, though obviously the 20s were sort of more known for the bobs. I've not actually done finger waves on long hair before, but my sister has long hair, so if it's something you'd like to see me attempt, let me know. But to get started with this everyday look that I do, first thing we're going to need to do is wet our hair. So as I said, we're starting with wet hair. So normally I do this just after I've washed my hair normally. Today I've just wetted it since my hair's already clean. There are a lot of ways you can set your hair in pintails for the night. So up until recently I'd been setting my curls pretty much the same way. I have a few like vintage clips that I like to use sometimes, just because they're nice. But generally, I would pin curl my hair and then just bobby pin it in place. So, just for example, like I'd curl it around my finger, and then I'd roll it up into a curl like this, and then I'd just pin that in place. Um, and then in the morning you get really nice curls from it. So that is one thing you can do. More recently I've been using these permanent rollers, so as you can see they're quite thin and that lets you get a really tight curl. So basically what I do is I just work down each side and then I'll do the back. If you want to be neat, you can like clip your hair into sections and then work from the bottom up, but I never really do that because I'm lazy and I don't really think it has a huge effect on the finished result. As I said, in the morning when you take it out, your hair's going to be a mess. So neatness isn't really what you're going for. All you really need to get is a really tight curl, or at least a strong holding curl. So what I would do is I will save my fringe until I get like maybe a row in, and then I can sort of do it separately. But you know your hair and you know the size of your head, so you'll know how much space you're going to need. So for example, this is part of why I don't clip my hair back. I know I get about 4 or 5 rows on this side and about 3 or 4 on this side, so you can sort of eye it as you go. There's no need to really get too worried about the fine details. So all I'm doing is I'm wrapping my hair around the rollers and bringing it down. I curl all of my curls to the front of my face, so curling forward as opposed to curling backwards, which is what is more popular nowadays. So I think people have a tendency to curl backwards. If you think back to old Hollywood, when they have their curls brushed out, they're always forming towards the face. So that's something I like to get, because really you never know how your curls or your finger waves are going to turn out day to day. You sort of just have to go with how they want to fall on the day. So I like to have that old Hollywood shape as the base, just in case anything doesn't go to plan. You can kind of just work with it anyway, and you know, at the very worst, you're going to have a basic forward curl which will still look fine. So yeah, I'm just going back in the row, and I'll get to sort of like the back, the end of my part, and that's where I'll end the row. Everything past there will be the back. As you can probably tell, this takes quite a while. I'd say on a good day, I could probably set my hair in these rollers in about 40 minutes, but generally, I think of it as sort of like a self-care activity, and I'll take over an hour to curl my hair. So yeah, I'd recommend getting a cup of tea, put on a true crime podcast, and settle in for the next hour or so. So as you can see, I've done that first row. Normally I'd do it a little bit closer to my head, but I'm talking so I'm not focusing as much. So really I'd usually have my fringe in 2 rollers, but I think today I'll be able to get away with it in 1. So you can see I'm not really too fussed with getting it super neat. I just want them to be in a tight enough position that they're gonna stay all night. I also hate doing like my fringe in the shorter parts of my hair. I find them much more difficult, and I might end up just giving up and pin curling it for the night anyway. No, I'll do that again. And you can see that well, I don't know if you can see, but my fringe has dried at this point. And as I said, because it takes so long, you might think to yourself that because your hair's dry, it's not going to stay in such a tight curl. But I find that even if your hair is dry by the time you get to like the bottom row, which mine usually is since it's so short, your hair will generally have enough moisture in it left over that it will stay in the curl the next morning, so that's not something you have to worry about. Yeah, this is how I'm gonna carry on for the next few rows. Now, this isn't normally where I do my hair. I've sort of propped a mirror up to my right here, so I can film better here. But where I'd normally do my hair, I have a mirror in front of me and a mirror behind me, so that makes it a lot easier when I'm trying to do the back of my hair. So if you can get in a position like that, I'd also recommend it. I've done the front sections of my hair. It's a very attractive look, as you can see. Normally I'd have a few more rows in, because I'd be a little bit neater if I'm not focusing on talking. So yeah, it's, as I said, it doesn't need to be super neat. I prefer to have more rows because I think it just adds a little bit more texture when you take it out, because obviously each curl is going to have a different shape, so the more curls you have, the more texture you're going to get, and the tighter the finger wave. As pretty much everything else in this tutorial, it's all down to personal preference. A lot of it is going to be trial and error and having a go and just seeing what works best for you. So for the back, like I said before, I do normally do my hair in a place where I've got a mirror behind me as well, and it's just a lot easier, but I'll do my best. So the back of my head, I just do everything going down, so all my curls are going to go downwards. So I'll take the top section, just roll it down, and that's pretty much what I'm going to do for the rest of the back. I'm really guilty of getting to this point and my arms are sore and the podcast is usually finished and I just can't be bothered. So the back of my hair is usually always the worst, as in like the messiest. Luckily it doesn't really matter, as I keep saying, how messy it is. So just keep going until you reach the bottom. So at this point, when I get sort of halfway down the back of my head, I start to struggle with rollers because, as I said before, the back of my hair is graduated, so it's quite short and is too short to roll. So that's where bobby pins come in handy. I've not found any way, and I've tried everything, to sort of roll the ends of my hair with, that gets it a more consistent shape, but there's just nothing I can find because the hair's that short. So, but this last section of the back of my hair, I'll generally be able to get 2 to 3 rows with bobby pins, depending on how tightly I've done the rest of it. When I get to the very end though, when I get to the bottom of my head, I can't even pin curl it, which is what I'm doing at the minute. The hair's so short it can't even be pin curled, but if you leave it just the way it is, you're going to have just straight sections when you take it out in the morning, and as you can guess, I can't really finger wave that part of my hair, or I choose not to, just because of how I style the back of my hair. So if it's left straight, it doesn't really look right. So for example, with this part here that's short, you can sort of curl it a little bit. So hang on, actually I might be able to pin this one in place. Yeah, So this section, for example, can you see that? Is too short to curl. I might be able to get it in that shape, but it won't stay like that overnight. So to avoid having just those straight little pieces at the end, what I do is I curl it as best as I can. So I might twist it first, and basically I'll just pin it up in a mess. So if you can't curl it into like a neat pin curl, just sort of squish it up and just stick it on the back of your head. I'll show you when I'm done, but that's just sort of the idea. Generally you just want it up off the nape of your neck, even if you're just twisting it up, because it'll just give it some sort of shape, which is better than nothing. And if you have slightly longer hair, you won't have this issue. Or hair that's a lot longer than mine, you won't have this issue, and you can just use the rollers or the pin curls all the way down your head, which would be a lot easier. Right, so I can't actually see the back of my head, so I don't know how good it is, but sort of, you don't really need to see it. I'm just used to being able to see it. But you can just feel, make sure everything's up. I can't actually see, obviously, because I'm looking over my shoulder. I can't see what you're seeing, so we'll just hope for the best. Yeah, hopefully as you can see, I've sort of just pushed it up, so like I'll twist and then I'll just pin it up and then slide a pin in. As I said before, you know, your hair is going to dry while you're doing this, but you shouldn't be worried, because if I just take this out, I've had this in for 20 minutes maybe at most, but if I just take this out, look at how curly that's gone already. So that's going to be in all night, and it's going to really hold that curl in place. So yeah, don't worry about your hair drying up or whether it's going to hold. It will. Put this curl back. So yes, I've pretty much finished now. Depending on the sort of look you want to go for with your curls, you can either leave it like this, or you can spray it with hairspray, just to be extra sure that it's going to hold. But really for me, over with my hair type anyway, I don't really bother with that. I find that it holds just as well without any product on. So the next stage for me is just to wrap my hair before bed. Over the years, I've tried loads of different things, like different types of scarves to wrap around my head, to keep the curls in place while asleep. But I actually found the best thing last Halloween. So last Halloween I went as Umbridge from Harry Potter, and I put together my own costume, and I wanted to do, you know, that outfit she wears, and she's got that sort of big pink section around here. Everything's pink, but you know, the big collar. So I got this scarf from a charity shop, and I sort of just put it round like this. sort of like that, and it sort of like had the effect I was going for. As you can see, it's in this really bright pink, and I was 100% sure that I would never wear it again. It's not my type of thing, but it is really good for sleeping in. It's like a net material, so it's got loads of holes, which is perfect for putting the bobby pins through. I've tried silk scarves and they're really nice and they're really comfortable, but they just slip off in the night. So this is my ride or die. I'll never bin this. So I'm just gonna put it over my head, and it doesn't really matter what you do here. You're just trying to get all of your curls covered. This is quite a long scarf, which I'd recommend. I'm just gonna put it over, wrap it round, and then I'll just tie it at the front. And I will sleep in this giant scarf situation. It does get easier the more you do it. Now you could just tuck your scarf in, you know, whatever. But as I said, this scarf's got loads of holes in it, which makes it perfect for using bobby pins. So I'll just use a few of those to sort of pin it in place. Keep it out of my way so I can go about the rest of my night. The hardest part is getting my glasses back on. I'll find the gaps in there somewhere. There we go. So that's it for tonight. I'll go to bed now and I'll see you in the morning, which is when the fun bit begins. Good night. Good morning everyone. So I've just taken off my scarf, but apart from that I've not done anything. You can see it's held all night, which is basically all you're looking for. I've done my makeup and I've gotten dressed. Ordinarily I'd say do your hair first thing in the morning, because your hair is going to take, I would say, at least half an hour to set once you've pinned it up. So yeah, do that first to get it out of the way, and then you can sort of go about your morning routine. First things first, we're going to need to take all these rollers out. So now I've got this crazy mess of curls on my head, we can carry on. So the next step, I would say, is sort of dependent on how you want your curls to look. You can have them a bit further away from the side of your head, or you can have them more slick. It just depends on what you're looking for on the day. So I can do both styles, but I tend to prefer the drier look, which is a bit more puffy and it has a bit more shape to it, I guess. But when I do the sleeker look, I use a gel spray. So I've tried doing it with hairspray and stuff, but I think for that sort of wet look, I think this is the best thing to go for. I've not ever been able to do finger waves with wet hair, which I know is what some people do. My hair just doesn't hold it. So if you want to get that sort of style of it, I would suggest using a gel spray. But for today, I'm not going to do that. Yesterday, you might have seen me on the night video, I used like a pink thin brush to sort of part my hair and brush it. That's like a thick bristle brush. If I'm doing pin curls overnight, I will brush my hair out with that. But since I've used the perming rollers, the curls are super tight, so they're really not going to lose the shape. So you can just use like a normal paddle brush for that. And then I'm just going to start brushing it out. You don't have to be scared about losing the curl, like you can really be rough with your hair. It's not going to come out. As you can see, my hair's just getting really puffy. This is why I parted my hair yesterday, because now it's already in this part. If you don't do that, obviously you can just part your hair how you want it in the morning, but I just find it easier to do it overnight. So you want to just brush it out into this massive puff. And I know it's looking super crazy, but you can already see, if I smooth this down a bit, you can see like where the waves are forming. So you can see how it's going like this, which is basically what you're looking for. I said last night, how your waves end up is going to be different on a day-to-day basis. You've sort of just got to go with what your hair wants to do. But now I've done this, I've got to clip it in place. The best thing I found for this are these Marcel clips. So this is basically what they would have used in the 20s anyway. They are a little bit harder to find now, or at least they were for me. I'd recommend if you look on eBay or Etsy, you can get some vintage ones, or just on salon websites. They usually sell them. So I've sort of accumulated a load of them over time, but they can be a little bit pricey. Not much, but you know, it's about £10 for 4, but it's worth it. So I just brush through, and I normally start with a back wave because you can see that's how my fringe wants to go. So I'll start with a back wave. If I was doing the wet look right now, I would spray my hair with the gel spray, but I'm not doing that. So I'll just sort of brush all of my hair back, push it up a little bit, and then get one of these clips and just sort of clip it in place, and that'll do. So the next one, I'm going to brush it forward. If you want tighter waves, you can do it close together. If you want looser waves, you can put the clips further apart. So for example, if I wanted a tight wave, I could do it here. But if I wanted my waves to be looser, I could maybe do it here. It'll work either way, it's just what you want. So I'll do it about here. And when I'm pushing forward, I'm trying to push it so it comes over my forehead a bit. So this is how far forward the waves are going to go to. Because I've got a fringe, sometimes I might curl these little parts forward, so I might have like a little curl here, for example. But I'll worry about that at the end. Decide what I want to do then. So we're just going back again on this one. You're pretty much just repeating this the whole way down your head. Back and forwards until you get to the bottom. So when I've got to the bottom now, it's just sort of dealing with these last few curls. So it sort of depends on how long your hair is. If your hair's a bit longer, you could probably brush it back again and put another Marcel clip in. When my hair's grown out a little bit, I will just sort of curl it forward like this, and you can see your hair is really malleable after you've pinned it, so you can sort of get the shape you want from it just by using your fingers. But sometimes I will get a small section of hair like this and I'll form it into a little kiss curl on my face, and then that's when I'll use the gel spray. So I think I'm going to do that today, sort of get the main shape out the way first. So I'll just move on to the other side for now. As I said, I start with a backwards. Here, sometimes on this side, I'll go forwards. My hair does want to go back here, but it's just, it gives it a bit of difference on the sides, I guess. I've sort of learned how to do this with my hair just by doing it over and over again. The method with which I've done this has changed even over the last year, say. So it might not work out the first time you do it or the second time, but if you just keep with it, you will figure it out. I've done the two sides now. So for the back, you can get smaller Marcel clips, which will allow you to continue the rows around, and it will give you that wave the whole way round. Personally, because I've got like a really big head, I don't like doing that to myself because I just don't think it suits my head. So instead what I'll do is I will brush my hair out so it's still puffy at the back how it was on the sides before, and then I'll brush it down and I'll put a few Marcel clips in it, but it's more towards the bottom. So really what I'm looking for at the back is a smoother look with maybe a little bit of a wave, and then the bottom curls are just puffed out a little bit. So this is why I said last night that you don't want to leave the bottom straight because it's just not going to fit in with the rest of the hair. So I'll do that now. This is where I normally have the mirror behind me so I can see what I'm doing, but you can feel it. So I usually will smooth it down at the back and put two clips just on the bottom to keep that down, and then I'll just sort of get my brush and fluff up the bottom. So this is what it looks like from the back. As you can see, I don't fuss too much with the back, as I just want to get it smooth at the top. That's the main part for me. But like I said, you can use Marcel clips to get the wave the whole way around. So next thing I'll do is my little curls. I'll sort of decide what I want to do with them now. This section is curling forward nicely today, so I'll probably form it into a little kiss curl on the side of my face. So I just sort of pin curl it how I would if I was putting it up for the night, and then I use the gel spray to get it in place. This is where the thick bristle brush comes in handy. Some people are really good at doing this with combs, but I prefer using my fingers. I get a bit more control. I hate spraying that on my face. It's not nice, but it does make the hair last all day, so you just put up with it. So that'll do for that side. Sometimes I won't do it on both sides of my face either. I'll just do it on the one. Just depends what my hair's doing. You also need to be careful with these bits, because if you put too much hair into them, it will look nice but it won't stay. So I've probably put a little bit too much hair into this side, but I could probably get away with it. I'm just going to make sure it's super glued to the side of my head, basically. So yeah, I'm happy with them. With the top, like I said, I might curl this bit forward some days, but I'm happy with it being back today. This is my little annoying bit, is this part of the fringe. I'll curl that forward. You can see how this curl's naturally going forward anyway, so sometimes I will just I'll just let it do what it wants to do, have that little curl there. So I'm happy with that for now. Because I've not gel sprayed my hair as I've gone along, you can leave it and it will look fine. You don't have to spray it now, but I will generally spray it with a bit of hairspray. So now my hair's like this. I'm going to leave it for a bit. I'm probably not going to be able to leave it for as long as I would like to today. As I said earlier, I would recommend having at least half an hour to set your hair like this. I would ordinarily leave it ideally for an hour or more, but today I'm just going to leave it in and see how it goes, see how long I have. Luckily there's not really much you have to do after this step, so you can leave it in till pretty much the very last minute, until you're heading out the door, and then you can just take them out. So I'll see you in an hour. So it's been about 40 minutes and I'm back. Ideally I would usually like to leave it for a bit longer, but I don't have the time today, so I'm going to take it out now. As I said before, I would recommend at least 30 minutes, but 40 should be fine. So I'm going to just start taking the clips out now. I just recommend that you be careful if you've done it this way without using the gel spray, because they can lift quite easily. So you can see the waves. If they were left for longer, they'd be more defined. If you don't want them as defined, then you leave them for a short amount of time. Oops. Last one at the front. So that's sort of how I get them into this curl. Now I'll just take out the back. There's just two in the back. And then basically get your brush or your comb, and then because I've sort of sectioned it into 3 parts, so there's 2 front parts and 1 at the back, you will sort of have a minor separation just where those parts are. It's not anything major, but I just like to get my brush and just sort of wiggle it on my head a bit, which will just bring the sections together. Careful not to mess up the waves. And then that should be it for the day. I would say in general I would get maybe 3 days wear out of this. Every night I'll wrap it again, and in the morning you can just take it out and it will pretty much be good for, as I say, about 3 to 4 days. I'd push mine to 4 days if I'm wearing a hat on the 4th day. yeah, so all that's left to do now is put on a bit of hairspray. As I said before, all the hairspray and stuff is sort of just additional as you like it. This hairstyle is pretty sturdy, and if you're not in bad weather it will hold pretty well without product, so just use it at your own discretion. If it's windy or rainy then it might be a good idea to use hairspray, but if it's a good day then you shouldn't necessarily need to. So that's it, I'll show you the back. And that's basically how I do my everyday finger waves. I hope this video was helpful, and if you have any requests for anything else you'd like me to do, let me know. If there's anything you need clarifying, also let me know, and I'll do my best to answer. Bye!